Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, what we are going to do, we are going to discuss some of the theoretical concept regarding API. So after API is created, you need to authenticate and also authorize. So what are the methods we are using for authentication? So that's the topic for today. So mostly it will be theory, and also I don't think I will do any coding today because it's mostly theories, but there is no there is no proper way of I can show these things. So if I need to show the basic authentication with some application, I need to have that application ready. With the Spring Boot, I can show everything, but in this video, probably going through all the theoretical concepts. So there are several. I'm going through this document. So the basic authentication. That's exactly there is nothing in basic authentication. So you are in a website where you are using login, username, and password, and and we directly sending that into the server. So in that case, the server decode and validate this credential. So we are sending as a base 64. The client adds authorization basic 64. So basic base 64 encode a username password. So username and password you are sending on the basic authentication. So you can set with the framework with this authentication without any problem. In Spring Boot, Spring Security, you can configure that. So now session management, credentials password in any request, even with the. So the main problem is you need to send this all the times. So whenever you need some data from the resource server, you actually need to send all the times these things. Token based authentication on the other side, you need to get a token. So how it works, so you need to send, you should have an other authorization authentication server, and you need to send your username and password into that server, receive a token from the server. The token is the sent with each request. So in this case, you are not going to send username and password for all the requests. You are initially you are sending into the authorization server. So when how it will work? So if you have a website, probably you don't need to see all of these things. So basically, in a front end application, most of the time it will manage calling the authorization server, and it will store the token in their cookie or somewhere, or a redux if it is a react application. Then from there it will show the expiry time also. So if it is expired, there is a mechanism to regenerate that token. That also happen in that case. So auth to typically used for third-party access delegation. The user get third-party application to access their resources. The user grants permission to a third-party resources via access token without exposing their credential. The client requests authorization, usually via login page. The user grants permission to the application. The user issue an access token, which the server issues an access token with the client including subsequent requests. This actually happening is like if you are if you are login with Google, Facebook, in that kind of scenarios, uh, the user need to give the acts as request authorization. So if they need to get the email ID for the application, for the application from the Google will ask you whether you are permitting this application to use it, right? So then you can use then the front end application always use that token the same way JWT token. So authorization bearer. So this one also authorization bearer. There is no difference. The only difference is how we will generate or two depending on third party. The other one is not depending on third party. So JWT authentication. So JWT, the user login and server generated JWT token. So this actually a token based system. So the client sends a token JWT or something, but in this case it's specific to JWT. So the user login and the server generated JWT token, which is signed using a secret or private key. The client includes the JWT pair token in the header for future requests. So, so use cases, single page, mobile app, API requesting examples of JWT token. So this is actually the header will specify the algorithm, the payload will specify the subject name, and there is any role that you can specify, and you can have some custom fields also there. And that's it about JWT token. But for these all things, there is so many use cases, simple internal APIs. So you have an internal API. So API is our secure network. So your own network. In that case, basic authentication is fine. But public facing APIs, token based authorization, mobile apps, distributed system, everywhere we will use the token base, whether it's auth or any other things. So here, third party integration, application requires secure user dedication. So security is a concern on auth too, and single page application mobile apps use the JWT also. Say, API key authentication. The client include a API key in the request, either in the query string or in the request header. The server will this key to authorize the client. So internal services, partner application. This all always API to API call or some other kind of things. So there is nothing on that one. So just we have a key and we share uh, with the coding application. So here API key, or you can have API key inside your post request. Digest au- authentication, similar to basic authentication, but instead of sending the password in the plain text, the client send hash value of the credential. The server provides nodes random string to the client. The client hashes these nodes, the password and other information and send the result. So there is some hashing occur in this case. So that's a digest authentication, more secure alternative to basic authentication, but largely replaced by token-based method. Hash-based message authentication code. The client create an hash of the request using the data using the request key shared between the client and the server. This hash is sent along with the request and the server verify by generating its own hash. This is almost similar to the authentication. Um, Here the client create a hash of the request data secret key shared between client and server. So there should be a secret key in this one, but in this case, there should not be any secret key. So, on nonce, right? It's based on nonce. So what is nonce? A random, the server provide a non-random string to the client. Here they will give a secret key. So probably this one will happen on the same instead itself, but this secret key probably uh, you need to store somewhere. It's provide initially. So the server compared the hash of the received request and compare client hashes the request body using a secret key and sent to the hash to the request body. This is usually happening in most of the cases. If you are using some SOAP-based APIs, you can see these kind of things. Session-based authentication cookie, the client is unlog. After a successful login, the server creates a session and stores in server. The session ID is sent to the client as cookie, and the client sends the cookie with each subsequent request. This is actually not regarding generating token or how the login is working, but this is actually how we will store that details in a browser and send it back to the server. Which method to choose? For internal APIs, simple services, API keys, or basic authentication is the only thing you require. But for public facing application, Bell Apps token base is commonly used. Third party integration or to if state management is session based authentication with cookie is a good choice. But this coming under this one can have always a cookie to set up for further communication with the server. So that's all for today. So we will discuss some other things in the next videos. So today we cover the basic authentication, token based authentication, JWT API key authentication, teachers authentication, hash based message authentication system, session based authentication. So basically these two are the main thing, basic and token based. But the other also the other things are coming under as a subtype or like a mechanism to handle the the other ones. So thank you for watching. Have a nice day.